Rob Thompson, SPORTSBIZ Radio. So, Bill, you like my shirt?
I do.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, it's I just see it in there, and it makes me feel happy. I think I make everybody in the office feel happy, and I finally have become that guy in corporate America now that could just wear what he wants. You reach your point, like you get old, you reach your point, you're like, it doesn't matter what he wears, just come
be
on.
yourself. You just have to be yourself.
Yeah, so don't have to, and I don't have to dress to impress anymore. But Bill Schoonmaker, you obviously are Mr. Sharp-looking executive there in a hotel room.
Yeah, it's just part of the wardrobe. I didn't pack for my podcast. I just wore what I wore today for my meetings.
Yeah, a true pro. So you've had a great career. Lead Dog Marketing, which is an awesome agency. I'm sure I'm missing something else in there, but US Lacrosse. You spent a good chunk of your career as a chief operating officer and everything else there. You made a name for yourself, and from what I've seen from the outside looking in, that's where I first heard of you. And now you're over at you're the chief marketing officer for the 2022 Special Olympics U.S. Games in Orlando, Florida.
Right, that's correct.
Oh, okay. Well, I did good homework then, I guess.
Yeah, well done.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about your career. I mean, did you come out of school thinking that the sports industry was something that you wanted to do?
No, it's interesting. When I was in college, I had the opportunity to do a couple of summers down on Wall Street, of all places. I grew up in Connecticut.
Yep.
So while most of my friends were lifeguarding or doing something else for a summer job, I was putting on a suit every day, 5 days a week for the summer, and commuting an hour and a half each way down to Wall Street, working for Merrill Lynch, down next door to the World Trade Centers, actually, and really got the bug for finance. Had some great opportunities down there, great experiences as a young kid trying to figure out what he wanted to do. And so I took that and ran with it, majored in finance at Penn State, and got a job in a training program with a company called Bear Stearns. And I was, I was off and running. I really loved it. I was kind of eating it up. And then, kind of fast forward 4 years or so into it, I really wasn't waking up every morning thinking, man, I'm going to go set the world on fire. Yep. So I did some soul searching, honestly, and I really kind of thought about what I wanted to do, what I was interested in, what I didn't want to do, what I wasn't interested in so much. And it kind of came down to my interest in love for sports. I'd always been involved in sports. I played a lot of sports through high school and then into college. I played lacrosse at Penn State and played a lot of lacrosse after college. And so, long story short, really before sports marketing was kind of a bona fide career, back in 1990, I left Bear Stearns after doing about a year of networking to really kind of explore this, make some contacts, and talk to some people. And I went and did a kind of a 180 and started out on a whole new career path. My father thought I was absolutely out of my mind.
I was just going to ask you that question. Yeah, it's like, what are you doing?
You wanted to tell me. Anyway, you didn't understand. 5 years for Bear Stearns is, at the time. Obviously, it's right. For those of us who've been around for a little while. Everybody knows that they went out of business, a while back. But at the time, they were, a top-ranked firm. Yeah. And I was fully vested in the 401k, and I was right on the right path. And my father just thought I was out of my mind. Mm. But once I got into it, I really knew that that's what I wanted to do, and I had the passion. So I spent the next 10 or 15 years really with the mindset of, hey, now I have to catch up right now because I've started a whole new career path. I'm kind of 5 years behind was my mindset. And so I really got a lot of fantastic experience, over the next, probably the following 5 to 10 years where I was, did a lot of different things. Started off at a small agency, kind of doing everything from selling to event management and hanging banners and doing kind of touching all the bases, which is really what I wanted to do. So I could kind of figure out what I gravitated towards. And then I got hired by one of my clients, Olympus Cameras, and moved out to Long Island and got involved in professional sports and, a lot of tennis and some other things. And then I got hired by Swatch watches, and had the great opportunity to work on the 1996 Olympic Games down in Atlanta.
Wow.
So that was kind of I accelerated pretty quickly, after a 2-year, kind of transition to the business. I was working at Olympus and responsible for the public relations and all our sponsorships for the country. And then for Swatch, I had some great international experience where all of a sudden I was, flying off to Switzerland for these international meetings. And it was really it's a fantastic time to be involved in sports and working on the Olympic Games and working with, amazing athletes like Dan Jansen and, Matt Biondi and Nadia Comaneci and all these fantastic, Olympians. And I did a lot of other things also in the entertainment world through Swatch because, a lot of artists were involved in creating the watches and so on and so forth. It was really great experience.
It was a hot brand. How much of your financial foundation led to kind of that structure that you had working for brands? Was it the education on business flow and just process that helped you kind of, because you fast forwarded quickly, but you also had that 5 years really getting probably an MBA level experience working for the financial world? Yeah,
so I think that did help for sure. I wasn't an analyst really crunching numbers when I was in Wall Street. I was sales and trading, so I was really had we had our clients and we did everything we could to really kind of help them and support them and work with the research team and convey our recommendations to our clients about buying or selling or holding a particular stock. And frankly, for me, while the content every day was different, one of the things that I didn't enjoy so much, I found, was that every single morning I had 3 different calls in a row. And, so every day was kind of structured the same, just different stuff in each half an hour window before the market opened. And it just really kind of felt very, repetitive and, a little Groundhog Day-ish. And I just found that I really needed more. But I think that experience definitely helped me for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And nothing beats setting up tents and doing activation at 5 a.m. So that's certainly.
Well, one of the stories I tell is that the agency that I joined is no longer around, but it was a small operation in Connecticut that was focused on professional yachting events, and that's what we did. And one of the signature events was in Bermuda, and so right after I left Bear Stearns, 3 weeks later, I was in Bermuda for 2 weeks working on this event. And there was a hurricane coming, so I'm in the middle of Hamilton Harbor, hanging over the edge of one of the boats, trying to put stickers onto the hulls, Omega Watch stickers onto the hulls because they were our title sponsor. While with the seas are I'm about to fall overboard and I'm still trying to get So it was stuff like that really just, I loved. It was kind of adventurous, and I got a little travel in there and had some great experiences and worked with some great people. And that really kind of set the tone for what I did going forward.
Yeah. Well, no one feels sorry for you hanging over boats in Bermuda, by the way.
It wasn't too bad. I'm not complaining.
No, just as long as you spent a couple late nights in the Switzerland and swaggered out, that's all that matters.
I was introduced to the dark and stormy very quickly.
Great spot. So, US Lacrosse, was it something was it a dream job for you at that time?
Yeah, I would say it was just because the sport itself it's one of those, it's probably one of the constants in my life as a young kid playing lacrosse and then playing all the way through high school and college and afterwards. It really meant a lot to me. A lot of my friends, my best friends, I'd come to know by playing with them on different teams. And at the time, the sport was really starting to take off. It was really growing, high single, double digit, low double digit annual growth. And US Lacrosse was a client at the time, and they just had this explosive growth going on, and they decided that they wanted to hire a COO to come in and kind of help structure the organization and kind of help manage that growth a little bit, while also providing the ability to accelerate the business in some ways. And so, that's kind of, that Steve Stenerson, the CEO, said, hey, we're looking for a Mr. Inside and a Mr. Outside. So kind of one foot on the operations side, but also the other foot on kind of the business development side. So I didn't have a lot of experience managing HR or IT, and that probably showed a lot, right out of the gate. But I did have a lot of experience on the business development side, and we were able to go out there and bring in some non-endemic partnerships with Marriott and Nationwide Insurance and some others that really generated a lot of revenue for the organization, which helped us help grow the sport. So that was a great experience.
Revenue solves a lot of problems, doesn't it?
It does. Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to say that all the time. You bring in revenue, you'll always find a job. Yeah. So talk a little bit more about that part of it. What were some of the biggest, not just challenges, but what were the biggest challenges, and how did you overcome them at US Lacrosse?
Well, I think for me personally, I had a little bit of an adjustment going from the for-profit world to the non-profit world.
Yes.
And a big part of that is just a lot of the decision making. It's not, when I was on the agency side before I joined US Lacrosse, I'd have an idea in the morning, and I'd be working with somebody on my team to execute it, to go sell it, or to create it, or whatever it was.
Right.
And it doesn't work that way, in the nonprofit world typically, because you have a lot of stakeholders, not only within the organization but also in the volunteer structure, and the volunteer structure is critical to the success. A strong volunteer structure is really critical to the success of any nonprofit. And so whether it's boards or committees and so on and so forth, you have to kind of frame this up. You have to socialize it internally, get it out and let people chew on it a little bit. They're going to have questions. It comes back and it goes back out. It comes back, and so that process takes some time. For certain initiatives, that's something that I had to get used to a little bit. But for other things on the business development side, I basically restructured all the assets we had. And kind of pulled the marketing assets, the event assets, our communications assets, a magazine, websites, our digital communications, and so on, and kind of pulled them all together, aggregated them, and then restructured them, priced them, and we went out and we brought in some really nice partners. Champion Apparel was the biggest deal ever. For US Lacrosse. And as I said, we already had Marriott Nationwide. So we were really kind of on a roll there, and we brought in a lot of revenue on an annualized basis really quickly by just kind of going out there and being laser focused on certain companies that seemed like they were very good brand fit and good business fits. And the timing was right, as I said before, with respect to the sport really, accelerating and growing all over the country. So it was a really exciting time, but it was kind of like riding, hanging onto the rocket ship and just trying to steer it in the right direction.
Yeah, right. I mean, timing is everything too. Did you find that when you looked at kind of how to restructure and maximize all those eyeballs and then aggregate all the media together, did you guys almost create like a separate media division when you had your print, you had your digital, you had your online, on-site website? Did you kind of look at it as an integrated media package?
Yeah, well, we already had we had the magazine and underneath our communications team, and the way the organization was structured, then all of that came underneath me. So it made it relatively easy, to have the communication side and the marketing side, and our events team and our advertising team kind of pull. It was relatively easy for me to pull them together and say, okay, let's take pieces of all these things, put them together, create an integrated platform that really will allow companies to reach an affluent, educated audience. And we had, when I first started, we had 250,000 members, maybe a little bit less than that. And by the time I left, we had 450,000.
Wow.
So we had a great team of people, and the organization grew from 40 to 90. We just had a lot of growth going on. So a lot of growing pains, and we made some mistakes, of course, along the way.
Yeah.
But we really did some great things as well. So it was like I said, a lot of fun, kind of a labor of love. And, really just, it was a great experience.
It was a great time
Yeah.
when you were there. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Let's talk about Special Olympics. Um, is it something that the timing in your life, is it something that's just so impactful and memorable that with all your experience and all your relationships, that you can make a massive impact on the overall athlete's experience?
Well, I think it's a really good question because for me, they were recommended. I was recommended to them because when Special Olympics Florida won the right to host the USA Games back 18, 19, 20 months ago, the CEO started to ask around for people that might be able to help, get this thing off the ground and have some experience with big, large scale events like this. And I had already done a lot of work when I was at US Lacrosse, in fact, and also after I left there and started my own practice, one of my first clients was the Invictus Games.
Oh, wow.
Prince Harry's kind of wounded warrior, multi-sport, multi-country games. And we held those at Wide World of Sports as well, down at Walt Disney World. So I had a lot of experience with that particular property. I'd worked a lot with ESPN in the past, and I'd worked with a lot of people in the Orlando marketplace. So I was, my name was passed on to the CEO, and sort of went quickly from there. So all of a sudden I had a new client, which was fantastic. And that kind of evolved as I got to understand more about the Special Olympics movement, and and to your point, the ability to have a real impact on people's lives, and the athletes are such wonderful people, and their families are so appreciative of everything that Special Olympics provides to them and to their loved ones who have intellectual disabilities, that it just never stops giving. It's just fantastic. And the relationships that I've developed in a short period of time, and all the really great stuff that Special Olympics, in general does, is really, it's impactful. It makes a difference. And that's really a nice thing to be able to have part of your working life, when you feel that rewarded by the daily work that you're doing and the people that you interact with. It just really, it makes it that much more special.
When you were getting on Metro North and going down and doing your internship in the city, I was actually working at a special needs camp for Special Olympics athletes in West Haven, Connecticut.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And that's what I spent my summers doing. And they put me in the camp without me knowing about it. And it was children with Down syndrome and autism. At that time, it was mid 80s, and autism wasn't even a word really, or a thing that was diagnosed at that point. And I fell in love with those kids and their families, and they are incredibly special people. And God doesn't make mistakes, and they give those families those type of children for a reason. And it's incredible to see what they're able to do with them. And so it's a piece of my heart and part of the foundation of who I am today. And that was a big part of it as a 17, 18-year-old high school kid who's working with Special Olympic. We played soccer and basketball and awful games. They took forever. Everybody's breaking rules.
Yeah.
Everybody's cheating. And but the families
having a great time.
Having a great time. It was awesome. It just the kids, they made a massive impact on my life, and maybe a better parent today. And anyway, so they're lucky to have you, Bill, and Mike, and the whole team, and Amy, and the whole team down there in Orlando, and what you guys are going to be able to do, and the team over at Disney, who I've known really well from the years I worked with those folks. And people don't know how magical and how incredible this experience is going to be, and having you part of that team, it's they're very lucky.
Well, that's nice for you to say, and it's you obviously you articulated that experience very well. One of the things that really excites me about what we're trying to do with the USA Games, and really being a catalyst for raising awareness around inclusion and acceptance of all people, and recognizing their abilities rather than focusing on the quote unquote disabilities, it's just really there's just so much there that we can do and that we're going to do with the games. And we're very fortunate. You mentioned Disney's support already, but back in early August, we had a big event where we unveiled our logo. And there's a fantastic story behind that. If you go to at Special Olympics USA Games to look at our Facebook page or go to our Twitter, you'll be able to see the video by an Academy Award-winning director, Reka Zeptopshi, who put together this short film about how we brought together athletes with creative abilities and did a workshop here in Orlando. And she filmed it, and it's just an amazing story to see how talented these 9 athletes are and what they contributed to create this fantastic logo. And the story behind it is just really gives it that much more meaning. And then to have a company like Jersey Mike Subs and Peter Cancro, who's the CEO there, just step up in a monumental, historic way to say, this is the right thing to do. This is the kind of thing that we need to support. And he put a stake in the ground and set the bar really high. And Disney, to their credit, man, they came up and they met it. And now we have Orlando Health, which is a large hospital system here in Central Florida that's on board. We have Orange County, Osceola County. So there's an incredible amount of momentum. And so, looking for the leadership of companies and other organizations and individuals that see the importance of inclusion and acceptance in our society right now. I mean, think about it. It's everywhere, and it's so important. It's just been fantastic to get to see that kind of support and have people kind of join us in this journey, this very important journey. It's been a lot of fun and very rewarding.
Yeah, the brands that are out there that are looking for opportunities. And I know, you've been in this long enough. Everybody's been approached by, everybody. If you're on the brand side, you get approached by everybody, right? You're on the other side of the table. This thing, you can't measure it in ROI. You can't measure it in any other way other than the massive impact that it has on kids and families' lives. And being a part of that as a brand or an organization, you can't put a number behind that. And, so I just wish you the best of luck out there banging on those doors and time away from your family like you are today to do a mission. It's much more than just anything. It's a mission that you're on, and all of you guys down there are on this mission. I don't want you or whatever, anybody else who's working on it to go unnoticed. You are a well-known guy in the industry, and what you're doing now at this part of your career is amazing. So hats off to you, Bill, and I'll even let you wear my shirt if you want.
Well, maybe I'll go get my own. I'll let you wear that one.
Yeah, it'll be way too big. It looks like drapery. Actually, I could put it back in by your window there, and it's grandma's drapery.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, well, thank you, Rob. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Best of luck down there. How do people find out more information about the event?
Well, there's a few ways you can do that. I mentioned our social handles earlier. Hashtag Shine as One is something that we're pushing very heavily. Our website is www.2022usagames.org. So we have a great website up, and that we're still very early. We're still a little bit under 2 years out, so we have a lot more to add to that. But I encourage you to go to our Facebook page, go to Twitter, go to Instagram, and follow us and share us, because we're going to be putting out some fantastic content with a lot of great stories as we get closer and closer to the games. And we'd love to have as many people along for this journey as possible.
And volunteering, I know they're going to rally the troops, right? They're going to need a ton of volunteers for this event.
Yeah, Disney's actually our lead partner for volunteering, and they know how to make that happen. And so we're really very fortunate to have them involved. And we have a number of venues, by the way, in the Orlando area, not just the Wide World of Sports Complex, but we also will have swimming, equestrian, tennis, and a number of other sports, bowling, be, that'll all occur in the greater Orlando area. So there'll be a lot happening here for that time period from June 5th to June 12th in 2022.
Well, awesome. I wish you the best and everybody down there, Mike and Amy and your whole team. Tell them all I said hello, and I'll see you guys down there in January. I'm Rob. That's Bill, the professional looking one. I'm dressed like a 12-year-old today, but we had a ball. And thanks for watching us and listening to us on Sports Biz Radio.
Yeah, we're looking forward to January. Thanks, Rob.
All right. Thank you. Thank you again. Take care down there.
All right. You too. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.